Wanjun, this is only the second day that we're looking at this. I don't expect you to get everything right. Take your best guess.
I think Bali. Say Bali. Because I think the second part is like.
But how?
Support your opinion. Sorry.
You were saying what city?
Can someone help Wanjun out? Wanjun's saying that it's the reverse of what Serene's proposing. Who agrees with Wanjun? Tito, what do you got? What is the conclusion for you?
Yeah, I feel that the second part is the conclusion because, you know, the supporting evidence, the premise, if you will, is that we can avert a majority of cancer by prevention efforts, and so that's why conclusion, more research on prevention and less on cure makes sense because averting a majority of cancers by because by prevention efforts we can avert a majority of cancers. That's why more research on prevention and less on cure makes more sense. And so the first part supports the second part, and so the premise supports the conclusion.
Fair enough, as an argument should be. Anyone convinced? I give you free rein to change your answers now. This one has an answer. This one has a correct answer. I will respect the answer the senior class puts forward, but this argument actually does have a clearly delineated conclusion and premise. And more research on prevention and less on cure makes increasing sense is the conclusion. And the reason that it's the conclusion is because the first part of that sentence is evidence.
So,
It's saying, it says, more research on prevention and less on cure makes increasing sense. Then you're asking yourself, why does it make increasing sense? And to answer why does it make increasing sense, we go to the first part of the sentence, and that says, because we can avert the majority of cancers by prevention efforts.
so Tito is correct.
Tito
is false.
is correct. Tito is correct. His argument was valid. He is correct. However, a majority of you agreed with Serene, so in this case, both answers I will mark correctly.
Oh yeah.
But just know that Tito is correct.
And you didn't let
I didn't know why, but I didn't.
say why you were.
I'm sorry, Serene, you were right.
But it's okay.
No, please. Nothing would make me happy if you tell me why I'm wrong.
I think it's valid because I think that the part where it says more research on prevention and less on cure makes increasing sense is supports it more.
You gotta be more specific.
Supports the conclusion more, which I think is the first part.
But tell me why. Set it out for me. How do you perceive this?
Because it kind of sounds like it's saying, okay, what's the way of like, I don't know, explain.
We're gonna find ourselves in so many circumstances where you know in your gut that it's right and it's so hard to articulate it. It's kind of the nature of it.
Okay, well, more research on prevention and less on cure makes increasing sense. Therefore, we can avert a majority of cancers by prevention efforts, even if we never get straight on the cause. That's how I thought about it.
That's the main point.
Yeah.
So, Daniel Callahan, that's what he's trying to tell you. That we can avert a majority of cancers by prevention efforts, even if we never get straight on the causes. Because I would think Daniel Callahan is actually trying to say, guys, more research on prevention and less on cure makes more sense. This may be a chicken and egg like discussion. Serene, I'm convinced. Whatever you put on this, you get full credit. Both sides are argued well. Number 4, go ahead and do your thing.
What's number 4?
Ah, is this the mysterious one? Is this the one that I never assigned?
But no, but there's only 9 people and there's no.
I think it's me.
Because before Tito does this thing, a couple things I want to share with you.
Oh, sit back down.
A lot of the arguments that we're going to use throughout this class are very famous arguments where they come from famous sources. And this one in particular comes from The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire from Edward Gibbon. Now, there are a pantheon of great historians, but there are 3 that really stand out. Thucydides and Herodotus, who are really the first 2 historians. They were ancient Greeks, and the reason they're the first 2 historians is because they were the first historians to be honest. They weren't saying like, we won because Zeus, threw a bolt of lightning, the gods favored us that day. They really told the facts as they were. The second one comes much later, not until the 19th century, in the form of Edward Gibbon's History of the Roman Empire. Volume 1, 1,000 pages. Volume 2, 1,000 pages. And Volume 3, 1,000 pages. These 3 volumes considered one of the greatest historical works of all times. And after 3,000 pages of reading these books, the whole premise, the whole thesis behind the whole thing is Christianity destroyed the Roman Empire. So you read 3,000 pages and that's the end of the story. That's the unhappy ending. Anyways, I ruined the story for you.
Yes.
Oh, and just real quickly before I forget, I told you yesterday that this is one of my favorite books. Plato, this was Socrates' student, and this is Aristotle's teacher. This is one of his premier works, Plato's Republic. This is one of my favorite books of all times. And I was telling you about the naked army of men and women. That's Plato's Republic. That's Plato's Republic. So you don't play yours. Okay?
Have fun. I believe it's time. I put that the conclusion was the first part of all our passions and appetites. The love of power is of the most imperious and unsociable nature. And so then that would make the second part the premise. Since the pride of one man requires the submission of the multitude.
Nice.
Explain yourself, sir.
I believe that the main idea of this statement is the love of power is of the most imperious and unsociable nature. To support that, the Edward Gibbon put the premise, pride of one man requires the submission of the multitude. And so, since the second part supports the first part, that would make it the premise and the first part's conclusion.
We're running out of time. It's almost time for lunch. I know you guys are hungry. Yeah, I definitely want you to save it. I also want you to highlight something that Tito unconsciously picked up on. The word since kind of gives it away. Thank you. The since can model. There are certain words that when you see them in an argument, you know that what comes after it is either, thus is a good
There's
example.
one of them.
Therefore,
Yeah. You know that therefore is another one, because can tend to be another one, although it doesn't work both ways. Since is one of those words, if you see the word since, often what you're going to see that follows is the premise. Tito, you are absolutely correct. In the interest of time, we're not going to put this one up to debate. We will finish on Friday. Excellent job. Guys, does anyone have any questions before you leave? Okay, we'll talk about this on Friday, guys. Have a nice day.
are you recording this part right now?
Yes.
Are you gonna admit it?
Yes.
Because we just said